I just saved hundreds of dollars by switching to Geico. I feel like I'm on top of the world.
Disclaimer, you will not be transported to the top of the world. In the unlikely event you find yourself at the Arctic Circle, seek shelter from the elements immediately to avoid frostbite and or hypothermia. Geico will not be responsible if you find yourself in a cave or crevasse with a lonely abominable snowman, who in all likelihood will force you to play games including but not limited to Go Fish, charades, Chinese checkers, or his personal favorite, Red Rover, send Yeti on over. Geico is not liable for any damages, either physical or emotional.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
This is the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast.
Golic and Wingo with you on a Friday morning as we get set for the best weekend of the NFL post and regular season. Divisional playoffs Saturday and Sunday. We're delighted to be joined now by Dan Quinn, the Falcons head coach, a former Super Bowl winning coach with the Seahawks, and of course took Atlanta to the Super Bowl a year ago. Dan, thanks for being with us here this morning. We appreciate it. And as a defensive guy, I'm sure you have to appreciate the way that side of the ball has gelled for you guys down the stretch. It's really been one of the biggest reasons why you guys made it back into the playoffs.
Hey, Trey. Hey, Mike. It's good to be on with you. And, we're pumped for this opportunity this weekend. And you're right. Our defense, some people might think it's the last couple of weeks, but they've definitely made strides through the season. And these guys have been battle-tested and certainly seen their fair share of good quarterbacks and battling for it. So, Mike, you'd like to be a part of this group. Their toughness, their attitude, their connection together, it's really strong.
Seem to be too good of athletes, though, for me to fit in there.
I was about to say, we just said he was old and slow.
Hey, Dan, I know how you draft.
Everybody loves a nose tackle, Mike. Everybody loves that.
That's true. That is different. I guess I wouldn't have to have that 4.6, 4.5 speed you like out of some of your guys.
But it is interesting, Dan. I mean, you mentioned the last couple of weeks. I look back the last 6 weeks of the season when you guys the last 5 games of the regular season as well as the playoff game. You played the Rams, highest scoring offense in the NFL. You played the Saints twice, a playoff team with a lot of offensive weapons. You played the Panthers, also a playoff team. You played the Vikings, a playoff team, as well as the Bucks. And in that 6-game stretch, this defense just gave up an average of 16.3 points per game. How has this defense been able to sort of turn it up as the season got late and into the playoffs?
Anytime you keep getting like time and extension together, that helps. It's really the communication, Trey, right in the middle of it all. Deion Jones and that alert, when the best defense that I've been a part of, you hear it at practice, you hear it right in the games. The communication that takes up and down the line of scrimmage, and that's what you see from our guys. I thought our tackling has improved over the last few months. We've worked hard at that. We haven't had the turnover margin that we've liked, but that part over the last few weeks has come together as well. So. This group, they're tight, they're connected, and they're really putting in the work so they can play at their best.
Dan Quinn, head coach of the Atlanta Falcons, joining us again. He was the D coordinator in 2013 for the Seahawks when they won the Super Bowl. I saw on that defensive side of the ball. Let's go to the offensive side of the ball. Here's an offense that last year you took into the Super Bowl as the highest scoring offense at 33 points a game. This year, 15th at 22 points. While you're in the playoffs and where you want to be, and when you're in the playoffs, you have a chance all the time. What to you has been a lot of people throwing out different reasons for why they think offensive scoring is down in Atlanta. What are your reasons?
I guess a couple of things come to mind, Mike. First, one, as the defensive side has improved, they're ready. They knew last year we mostly relied, from an offensive standpoint in a lot of regard. This year, however it takes to win this game, this matchup, this fight, whatever that week calls, whether it's on offense to outscore a team, we've had to score a lot at Seattle to win on a Monday night, or to win a close game as a defensive score where it keeps it down low, or even on the team side of it with Matt Bryant to know we can really rely on him in those moments. Offensively, we're still getting a number of explosive plays, and the team has done a good job on third down. Early on, Mike, we really struggled on our turnover margin, and as you know, that can be a real factor. That drive ended without points on that one. So over the last few weeks, that part's been better for sure for us. And I like calling it a turnover margin because it's not just the offense, it's the defense creating them as well. But as we've been, over the last few weeks, from a whole team standpoint, that connection's really been strong. Offensively, we know we have, playmakers at a number of different spots. It's good to have both our running backs healthy and the receiving, crew back for it. So we're ready to go.
Dan Quinn with us, the Falcons head coach, as they get set to go up to Philadelphia and take on the Eagles. And Dan, one of the things that I loved about the way you guys finished off the LA Rams in that game last week was the commitment to the running game. I mean, you only averaged about 3.2 yards a carry. Now, granted, some of that was Matt Ryan, only 5 yards on 6 carries. I don't know what was going on there. But there were 39 attempts. And in a game that was pretty close down the stretch, the fact that you guys stuck to the running game and realized that's the way to grind this out. How much of that has sort of been an involvement in this offense that we've seen going forward from really what happened in the Super Bowl a year ago to now?
We had a real sense because of their front, it was going to be a line of scrimmage day. And it's going to be the same this week. Both teams that like to run it, both teams are effective versus the run. So we made sure that part of our identity, and Mike can relate to this, when you have that kind of balance and you can run the ball and it kind of adds to that toughness of your team, it makes a big difference when the run game's going now, the play action's there, all that goes in concert together. So for us, having that balance, Trey, that's a real factor. We had some long extended drives, and sometimes keep leaning on them in the run game and you keep owning that time of possession. That's a good formula.
I'll tell you who loved it the most is the old lineman. A, they'd rather run block than pass block, and B, it helps play action so much more. No doubt about that. Dan, I'm wondering your coaching kind of strategy or philosophy, even when you were a coordinator to now a head coach, like in the coordinating days, if you were going up against a team that had a star on offense and that guy was going to be out, how right. You talked about that with your team. In this case, you're going up against a team that arguably the MVP of the league, and Carson Wentz is not going to be in the game. And players are players. Listen, sometimes they may exhale a little bit and say, okay, that guy's not on the field. How do you approach that with them?
Yeah, well, number one, we're definitely bummed for Wentz. I thought, Mike, he threw a hell of a year. You never like to see guys miss their postseason ops. But after watching him play, I'm sure he'll have plenty of postseason games in his future. Philadelphia's fortunate. They've got an accomplished vet, who's playing at the backup quarterback. Not everybody has that. And so that gives the team confidence because they know he can get the job done. He's done that before. So when you're playing against a veteran who comes in as a backup, I think that's a different, mindset to go, knowing that, hey, this man can get the job done. He's done it before. So you almost get that instant respect and credibility. He's got plenty of experience for them in the system, both at Kansas City and there at Philly. So, and then when you look at their offense and you go through the whole season, you recognize they got a number of playmakers. It's at tight end, at wide receiver, at running back. So you just kind of get right back into the prep, Mike. You get right back into, all the things they want to do and how do they feature the guys. So it really just comes down to, our prep and going for it. But they're fortunate that they've got a backup quarterback as experienced as they do in Foles.
Dan Quinn with us, the Falcons head coach. And again, we're in uncharted territory here, Dan, with this game this weekend. This is the first time since playoff games were awarded by the better record going back to 1975 that the home team or the number one seed is an underdog in their first ever playoff game. And it sure seems like that's something that a lot of the Eagles players are talking about as a motivational chip for them. As the head coach, how are you trying to sort of combat that, knowing that that's going to be something that is a really big block on their shoulder going into this game?
Yeah, and I'll put it back, right for us, and Mike can relate, as a former player, inside the walls, man, you lock the doors, you get back in the lab, and you try to, work your butt off to get your preparation right. And on our team, that's like our responsibility to one another, the films, the meetings, the practice time. So you put that work in, Trey, so you get to that spot mentally where you can't wait. And as ball players, we don't really get caught up in rankings or seedings or favorites. You just try to get your mind exactly right for all the things you need to do to go play really well. So for us, it went right back to it, man. Lock the doors, go back to the lab and get our preparation right. We don't really get caught up even into the ranking stuff, offensively, defense. It's not something we talk about with the team much, with the exception of turnover margin. That's one that we do. So for us, right back to it, man. We threw a hell of a week in terms of our preparation, and that's really where our focus lies.
As far as through the year, and I don't know the answer to this because I never got to a Super Bowl to whether to win one or to lose one. How does that work through the year? Is it kind of in the locker room a rallying cry of let's remember that to get there again to go for the win? Is it completely put aside and say it's a new year? How has that been working for the Atlanta Falcons?
I think early in the year, Mike, it was still a story. You kind of go through the off season, you're getting started, and as a coach, you're ready to see your team get tested because you want to find out, have you learned from some of the scars that you had, through a loss. But then as the season goes on, it really kind of turns and it shifts just into this team. And so this 2017 team, all the stuff they stand for as a group. So it's not a rallying cry anymore. It's just like how hard they can fight just for this game. And that's really where our focus lies. We try not to look too far back or down the line, anything that would be past this. It's just like the phrase we use, the only fight that matters is the one you're in. So we just get locked in for this moment, this game. And I think as the season goes on, the team that you're on, that connection really grows, and that's kind of where we're at.
Well, it's been a lot of fun to watch this Falcons team sort of go through the ebbs and flows of the season and the way they've sort of rallied at the end and found that identity that I know you as a defensive head coach must love. The sure tackling that we certainly saw Poole and all those guys and Keanu O'Neal have in that secondary against the high-flying Rams offense on Saturday. Hey, we appreciate the time, Dan. Thanks for being with us, and best of luck this Saturday in Philadelphia.
Thanks, Dan.
Yeah, appreciate you guys.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Trey Wingo and Mike Golic Sr. Malik, thanks for being with us. That Denver Broncos defense that you guys won Super Bowl 50 with was dominant on every level. As you see this defense in Jacksonville now with the addition of Calais Campbell and how Bouye and Ramsey are playing, and you've got Fowler and Miles Jack, how similar do you see this group to the team that you won it all with a couple years ago?
First, what's up, guys? Always good to talk to you guys.
Thanks,
it's a special team. That 2015 team, we were special. We were able to take that team to the Super Bowl and win it, And we had guys like Brandon Marshall, Dan Trevathan, Chris Harris, Aqib Talib, T.J. Ward in the back end. Me, myself, and Derek Wolfe, not only speak about Von Miller and DeMarcus Ware, but I think the only difference is that we have just different guys with the same athletic ability, same I think bright future. We're just younger. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things that God is still developing. Miles Jack is on his second year, doing great things. Yannick Ngakoue is on his second year. Dante Fowler's going on his third or fourth year. So it's like things like that where guys are young, and that's the only difference. But we still have a attention to detail to where we can all work. You know what I'm saying? That like you guys said, the front office has done a great job of bringing guys in here, old and young, and we're mixed well in each room to where we have a Calais, we have a Barry Church, we have a Paul Posluszny in every room to where they just share all the knowledge they have, and it helps the youth. So it's awesome to have.
It's so much fun to watch because defenses I was on in Philadelphia when you were a really young kid, had it like you guys had it at every level from D-line to linebackers to secondary as well. And I'm wondering, and it was so much fun at practice and in the games because you had so many different people that could make plays. Like when I was with that line, it was Reggie White and Clyde Simmons and Jerome Brown. They would have, that competition amongst them who would get the most sacks. I would be the one keeping score because I wasn't really involved, getting the sacks there. How about you guys? Do you guys have that friendly competition amongst that defense on who's going to make that play?
Oh, that's on every level, but between AJ and Jalen in the back end, they feel like if one gets picked, the other one has to get a pick. And I think that's what makes all of us better. We have that healthy competition to where, we want to see each other do great, but we also want to make sure we're the one shining the brightest. You know what I'm saying? And I think that makes everybody better around you because it allows you to work your hardest and truly be who you are, but work your hardest and make plays, and that makes everybody else around you because they're going to want to do the same thing if they're worth their salt as a competitor. You know what I'm saying? So we have a thing in our D-line room. It was King of the Hill. Calais won that this year with the sacks. And we all saw it every day. We were chasing it. You know what I'm saying? As far as the season will go, game in and game out. And it was one of those things that was a healthy competition that we needed. I think it allowed Yannick Ngakoue to get the sacks he had. It definitely boosted me. And it boosted Dante on that third down team to really go after this quarterback because when you physically see something, somebody doing something, you should want to do it too because it's what we do.
Well, it's certainly what you guys have done all year long. Malik Jackson, Jacksonville Jaguars defensive lineman, with us on Golic and Wingo. And, I keep going back to the Broncos team because I think the comparisons are really similar to what we're seeing in Jacksonville. Not only dominant defenses, Malik, but also offenses that at times have struggled this year. I mean, yes, that was Peyton Manning in Denver in 2015, but that was not Peyton Manning, if you know what I mean. That was a different version. Yeah. And it's funny, as we were getting ready to do this interview, I went back and looked at that clip of Peyton running for that 3rd and 10 in the AFC Championship game against the Patriots. And there's the reaction of you on the bench like, I can't believe he actually did that and got the first down so we could get a rest. But that's some of the things that is facing this Jacksonville offense as well. Obviously, Blake has had good games at quarterback, but he struggled the last 2 weeks of the regular season and struggled in the postseason in that win over Buffalo, although he ran for some critical first downs. As a defensive player, how do you deal with the offensive side when it's not as productive as your side of the ball?
We just go out there and do what we do. You know, as a defense, you can't really flinch if the offense isn't being productive that day or if they're getting 3 and outs. You know, it's up to us to go make our adjustments quickly and then go back out there and get a 3 and out. So that's how we see it. We really don't cry about it. You know, we're not like, oh my God, what are they doing? You know, we know that they got some things they're going to fix and they're going to get it going. And when they do, it's going to be a beautiful thing. So we just go out there and do our job and make sure that, like last week, if our team scores 10 points, it's enough. So, you know, we just go do our job.
Talking to Malik Jackson from Jacksonville Jaguars, 5th-round pick out of Tennessee in 2012. Again, as we talked about, Super Bowl champ with the Broncos in 15, first-time Pro Bowler this year. Congrats to you on that. You go back, you guys faced Pittsburgh, beat them 30-9. What's the biggest difference in your mind of watching any tape of that game on what the Steelers are now compared to then?
I mean, in that game, you know, they're the same guys. You know what I'm saying? It's one of those things that they got better. You know, of course, that was early in the season, but they worked themselves to become the 3 Pro Bowlers and the 1 All-Pro they have. You know what I'm saying? So as far as that O-line, I think that they've done tremendous things. They've gotten better in the season, just like we got better in the season. You know, so it should be interesting to see from that performance how both teams have gotten better to see where we can go and what we can do now. You know, I think watching the film, you know, I forgot that it was a pretty much tied game going into halftime. You know what I'm saying? So I think if we can just continue the dominance that we had in the second half and come into this game with that mindset and that, this mindset, I think we'll be okay. So we've been practicing, you know, guys are getting healthy, and I'm just excited for this game because it's a big game for the Jags. You know, we can definitely surprise some people, and I think we are, so. We'll see. Yeah,
you're right. In that game, halftime, you guys were winning 7-6. You outscored them 23-3 in the second half.
Absolutely.
And that was defense. And stuff, too, not even our offense.
2 pick sixes in that game.
Yep.
Yeah. You know what? Malik Jackson with us, Jacksonville Jaguars stellar defensive lineman. And by the way, they're nominee for Walter Payton Man of the Year for all he does in the Jacksonville community. Congratulations to that. We know you've done that for a long time, and it's great to see that side of you as a person being rewarded as well. But I wanted to get into one thing that I thought was really interesting when you look at your decision. You had one of the greatest tweets of all time, by the way, when you signed that deal with Jacksonville as a 5th-round pick. All you put out was, what a time to be alive.
Absolutely.
And it certainly worked out for you.
Timing is everything.
What do they always say? You want to get in on something early as opposed to late. You were one of the first guys that decided, hey, I think things can change in Jacksonville. Obviously, the money is always going to be a big part of any decision, but you could have you had a lot of options after that Super Bowl season you had with the Denver Broncos. What made you believe in what they were doing in Jacksonville?
I mean, when I was able to sit down with Mr. Caldwell at the time when he was there, and he just told me his dream, you know, and I just believed what he had to say, and I was able to sit down with Coach Wash, the defense coordinator, and talk to him and see my role and how I would fit. And I just thought I can get better and rise with him, you know, and be to where I thought I can be in my career, which is now I'm an All-Pro in my second year in this defense. So it's one of the things that, like you said, I saw what we can do. I saw the way we were going, and I saw that I can be a big help on this D-line, you know, because they already had a lot of key pieces, like in Avery Jones, and they had just got Yannick Ngakoue, and they had Dante Fowler. So it's one of those things that I knew I can come in here and just be a guy that's been to the Super Bowl, literally just been to the Super Bowl, and I can bring in a knowledge to where to show these guys where we can go and how we can do it and just change the culture of Jacksonville. So, it's just been awesome to be a part of, man, and so we can keep going.
All right, that's Malik Jackson with the Jacksonville Jaguars heading up to the Pittsburgh Steelers this weekend to take them on, see if they can beat them twice in 1 year. And again, we should point out he is the Jacksonville Jaguars nominee for the Walter Payton Man of the Year. His own foundation, Malik's Gifts, supports military, at-risk youth and their families, as well as pet adoption. So he's dominating on the field.
Yep.
He's dominating off the field as well. Malik, thanks for being with us. Good luck this weekend.
Thanks, Malik.
Man, appreciate you guys. Go Jags.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
What a day, what a show, what a time.
I tell you what, a great sports night last night. Yeah. No doubt about it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Golic and Wingo on ESPN Radio and ESPN2. Anyone that's listened to this show or your previous incarnation of this show, Mike, knows you love the food.
Yes, I do.
Despite the fact that you're now heroin chic and are going to be a runway model.
I still eat plenty.
You love the food, and something happened recently that just tugged at the strings of your heart.
It's unbelievable.
And your stomach. Justin
Falk of the Carolina Hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
He scored a power play goal at 10:36 in the second period to tie the game for the Hurricanes, making it 3-3 against Tampa Bay.
And that's significant. Why?
Yeah, well, I'm going to tell you all the reasons why. First off, I don't even know who won the game, and I don't care. Okay? Because his goal kicked off the NHL's first fat trick. Not hat trick, but fat trick. So first, he scored a goal.
Yep.
And that kicked off this. Anytime Falk scores, select Moe's locations, hand out a free side of queso the next day.
Okay.
So that got triggered.
Free queso.
Free queso.
All right, that's number one.
Now, it tied the game 3-3. So they scored 3 goals.
Right.
Papa John's offers half-price pizzas, online only, on days after the Canes score at least 3 goals.
Okay, so we got free queso and a half-price pie the day after the game.
Because they scored 3 goals and because Falk scored.
Yep.
Also, when the Canes score on a power play goal, Falk's goal was a power play goal. Bojangles gives free Bo-Berry biscuits to customers who say, I'm a Caniac, and it's Bo time. I love that. So Falk scored, kicked off the Moe's deal.
Free queso.
Free queso.
Yeah.
He scored the third goal, which gives him Papa John's half-price pizzas.
So you put the queso on the half-price pizza,
go.
give it extra cheese.
There you go. Right. And you get some Bo-Berry biscuits because they scored a power play goal.
But you have to say, I'm a Caniac.
And it's Bo time.
It's Bo time.
Now, so Justin Falk's one goal turned out to be a fat trick. I think that is just awesome.
Here's the question.
Yeah.
If you're eating the half-price pie with the free queso as you walk into Bojangles, can you even say the words, Caniac and Bo time, because you have so much food in your mouth?
I think professional eaters like myself
would find a way to get it
could
done?
do it, yeah.
All right, well, here's the deal then. Let's just say, for anybody that took advantage of this fat trick, the one thing you should not do the next day, check your cholesterol.
No, don't do that.
Wait a while.
We don't worry about that.
Wait a while. Let that settle in.
I love the promotions like that because at basketball games, if you hit to 100 points, that's why a lot of times the game could be not even competitive, and the team gets to 100 points and there's a standing ovation.
Tacos!
People are waving their tickets around, Taco Tuesday. It was in baseball, for a stolen base and such, it would be taco. I mean, I think it's fantastic. This one goal triggered 3 food promotions.
That was the fat trick, as they like to call it. And that got me to thinking about that other one that happened a couple of years ago. I think it was 2016 with Michigan. Ruth's Chris, which, by the way, love me some Ruth's Chris. The sizzling plate, 1800 degrees, butter on top of the steak.
Okay.
The 4th Avenue Ruth's Chris in Ann Arbor had a promotion saying they would discount the patron's total food bill by whatever percentage equaled the Wolverines' margin of victory that Saturday. Well, they went out and beat Michigan 78-0.
Oh my gosh!
Rutgers. Michigan beat Rutgers 78-0, which means that was a 78% discount. However, it capped it at 50.
Oh, okay.
But still, you got a half price off a steak, which is a pretty good deal. And they had to put out this apology. The discount caps at 50%, which was not clear in the initial post. This amazing promotion was launched with a cap of 50%. And by the way, by Sunday afternoon, the restaurant was booked up all the way through Thursday to take advantage.
Had to be packed. How do you leave out that part of it?
Yeah. My bad. We forgot to put this little disclaimer in here.
The 50% cap on this thing.
But having eaten at Ruth's Chris, 50%
off
that. Oh,
that's great.
I'm running there as fast
Bottom line,
as I freaking can.
Place was packed, so it worked, didn't it?
Absolutely worked.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
It was all sort of one big giant Jell-O mold.
It's very interesting where that went.
Somebody else has been trending upward for the last couple of seasons.
Yes, he has.
That would be the pride of Mankato State, or Minnesota State, rather. in Mankato, that would be Adam Thielen, the Vikings wide receiver, who joins us now on Golic and Wingo. And Adam, thanks for being with us. It has been a lot of fun over the last couple of years to watch you develop as a player. How much fun has it been for you playing and excelling for the team that you grew up rooting for, playing at Detroit Lakes High School?
Yeah, it's been great. Obviously, the biggest thing for me has just been getting those opportunities. You know, that's what you work so hard for. That's what you train for. You really put everything you can into that to get those opportunities, and that's why I play this game. I play this game to go out there and compete and play receiver every snap, and that's when I'm having the most fun.
Adam, give people a little bit of background to this because, you know, every year when we cover the draft, and Trey is always covering the draft, we talk about the top picks in the draft and how they pan out.
Mel talked about your upside, Adam, I promise you.
But for you, talk about your road, a guy who is undrafted. So the 7 rounds go by and you're still not picked. And then a lot of times it can work out better if you can choose a team. You're there in Minnesota. You go from 8 catches to 12 to 69 to 91 this year and a Pro Bowl, which I'm sure you don't want to play in. You want to be preparing for the Super Bowl. But talk about that road of not being drafted and the battle just to make a team and then to where you are today being one of the top targets.
Yeah, it's definitely a really difficult journey just because of kind of what I just talked about earlier is opportunity. When you go undrafted and really unsigned after the draft, and get a rookie tryout, you're not getting a whole lot of opportunities. You're just you're thrown in there at the end of the game in preseason games, so you're not really getting any film. Luckily for me, I was able to be on practice squad my whole first year and able to go against the starters every day and really show what I could do there. And then that next year was able to get more opportunity in the preseason and then played a lot of special teams from there. But yeah, like I said, it really, this league is all about opportunity. And when you get those opportunities, if you can make the most of them, that's how you continue to get more and more. And that's when, then that's when you can really make things happen.
Do you remember that moment or two when before you made the practice squad, because you're still on the team there, where you thought, boy, that play right there, whether it's in practice or a preseason game, that one is going to help me down the road?
Yeah, there was some plays that I made early in training camp that year that I felt that that maybe that was kind of a staple play or something that maybe that would kind of catch people's eyes and give me those opportunities. And then from there, I knew I just had to be consistent. I couldn't just make some crazy good plays and then drop a bunch of passes or run the wrong routes and things like that. So I was just trying to be as versatile as possible. Trying to learn all the positions so that if anybody was hurt or anybody was tired or anything, I could jump right in and not skip a beat. So that really helped me as far as opportunity when I was coming where I came from.
Well, whatever you did, it's working. Yeah. I think we can say that with great certainty as Adam Thielen joins us, the Vikings wide receiver in his 4th season, his best season, 91 catches, 1,200 yards, 4 touchdowns. And I'm just curious, how much does it help the chemistry between you and Case Keenum and the fact that you guys are very similar, both undrafted players? In fact, in the Super Bowl era, going back to 1966, only Tony Romo to Miles Austin, with 1,320 passing yards between the two of them, has more between an undrafted quarterback and an undrafted wide receiver. You and Case hooked up for just under 1,099. The fact that you both had to struggle and sort of grab for everything that you could, how much of that has helped the chemistry that you guys have on the field right now?
Yeah, it definitely helps. I think we, like you said, we know where each other has come from. We know the struggle of going undrafted and not getting those opportunities. So I think we never take anything for granted. We know that this it can be taken away from us very quickly, and we know how hard it was to get here. So we're going to keep working, keep getting better, and keep trying to be the best football players we possibly can be.
We talked to Malik Jackson from Jacksonville a bit ago and asked him about the first meeting with them in Pittsburgh earlier on in the season. You guys played New Orleans' first game of the season. Can you take anything from that? And if you do, what?
Not really. It was so long ago that there's really, we do watch that game and on film and go through and things like that. So schematically, there's probably some things you can take away, but just as far as how they're playing on defense right now. It's a completely different defense. They're a lot more in sync. They're not making coverage errors. And their guys they're not playing like rookies anymore. Their rookies are not rookies. So they're playing at a high level. When you look at their secondary, they're flying around. They're playing with a ton of confidence, and they're guys that can really match up with anybody. And you've seen that these last few weeks with them.
When you talk about the Saints, as we're talking to Adam Thielen, the Vikings wide receiver, they always talk about their home field advantage. They call it their dome field advantage, how well they play. I'm not sure there's a team that has a better home field advantage than the Minnesota Vikings right now, and you guys are trying to do something that has never been done in the Super Bowl era. We all know we'll be there in Minnesota for Super Bowl 51, or 52 rather, coming up next month. How much have you guys even talked in the locker room about the idea that you might be able to play a Super Bowl in your home stadium?
We haven't talked about it at all, honestly. I think the coolest thing about this team and what I've been so impressed about of my teammates is the fact that guys, they really aren't looking about, there's a lot of times this season where guys didn't even know our record because we're so focused on the moment. We're so focused on this week ahead of us, and I think a lot of that has to do with just what we've learned from past seasons. We know that we can't look too far ahead because in this league, if you're not playing your best football and if you're not prepared each and every week, you will get beat. And it doesn't matter what team you're playing, where you're playing them, and what their record is, because any team in this league can win. And, I mean, you look at the Cleveland Browns this year. They didn't win a game, but there were so many games where they were up with 2 minutes to go in the game and had teams on the ropes. So, like I said, you really got to bring it each week, and you really have to stay in the moment. Otherwise, you'll lose.
One of the biggest turnarounds, Adam, for any side of the ball this year has been the Saints' defense and how they have gotten so much better. A couple of rookies in the secondary who have played extremely well. When you look at that defense, getting ready to face it again, in your mind, what's their strong points?
I think their confidence. They're playing with so much confidence right now, and they're flying around. I think another thing that's been a big difference for them is their communication. They're able to switch coverages. They're able to really communicate on the fly and get guys lined up and play fast. So, like I said before, it's going to be a tough matchup for us, but we're excited. That's what you want, and in the playoffs you're going to have tough matchups each week. So, like I said, we're excited and we're ready to get back to work today and have another day of preparation.
Adam Thielen with us this morning as they get set for their playoff Sunday as they host the Saints in Minnesota. One of the things that's been most interesting, Adam, about the Vikings this season is how you guys have responded to adversity. I mean, let's be honest. The idea was to have Sam Bradford under center and Dalvin Cook running the football. Both of those guys are gone, and you could make the argument that in some ways you're playing not only with your third-string quarterback in Case Keenum, who, by the way, could be on the short list for MVP, but you're also maybe playing with your third-string running back. How has Minnesota, and specifically head coach Mike Zimmer, been able to keep you guys on point despite really key injuries to key positions?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that go into that. I think the coaching staff, this organization has done such a great job of getting depth, learning from maybe past years and knowing how important it is in this league to have depth. And then, on top of that, getting the right guys, the right character guys in here, just great teammates. I've been here for 5 years now, and this is just, as far as the locker room goes, there's not a better group of guys. And just a bunch of football players. In this league, sometimes, you get guys that are extremely athletic and, run the best 40 and jump the highest of anybody in the combine and things like that, but they can't play football. And that's one thing this team doesn't have. We have guys that know the game of football, they know how to play, and they love the game. And those are the teammates you want. Those are the guys you want to fight with. Those are the ones you want to go to battle with. And like I said, I'm just very thankful that we have this group we have.
All right, Adam, football stuff's out of the way, the secondary stuff. Let's get to the major stuff right now. Again, Adam Thielen, wide receiver for the Vikings, grew up in the area there. So I'm going to be there for the Super Bowl. I love to fish, hence it's going to be wintertime. I need to ice fish. You ice fish at all? And if so, where am I going?
Well, we'll have to get out together because I love to ice fish. I don't get out very often, but growing up in Detroit Lakes, there was pretty much a city on the lake with fish houses. So it's definitely a good time, and it's a relaxing time. That's what I love about it. You go sit in the fish house, turn the heater on, get some cards, and fish a little bit, and hope you can fry up some fish right there, and a nice fresh fish. So we'll definitely have to get out there and get on the lake.
Well, first and foremost, I don't think you want to be with me that week.
We hope you're too busy that week.
So we hope you and I can do it another time, but during that week, let's hope you're preparing for a game that week. Second, I'm glad you said about the hut and the heater, because too many people have been jumping on me saying, Golic, you got to do it you got to sit outside, and I'm like, no, I don't. I don't need to sit outside. That's what those huts are for, right? You can have nice heater in there and some brewskis in there, and I mean, it's got to be beautiful.
Well, first of all, we'll have an off day even if we're in the Super Bowl, so we can still get out there.
Okay. Adam is all in on this. Adam is all in on this. I like this.
But no, I mean, I think you can't. I don't think people can say you got to do it the old school way, because us as Minnesotans, we're not going out there and doing that way. So you got to do it the right way. You got to get out there in a fish house. Maybe even sleep out there for the night, have the heater, and do the whole deal. So there's definitely plenty of options around here for things like that.
All right, as Adam Thielen is with us, I think we have to adopt this now. I think, Adam, you need to be the Golic and Wingo official Minneapolis tour guide, one way or the other, when we come to Minnesota for the Super Bowl, because I think one thing everyone needs to know about Minneapolis is that they found an ingenious way to stay inside. The gerbil tunnels are real, right? Yeah. In Minneapolis, you can go from building to building downtown and really never get outside, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. That's the great part is, in the winter you can, you don't have to go through the elements. Even though sometimes it might be faster just to walk outside, but no, you definitely can stay inside if you'd like.
All right, so forget fast. We're going comfort.
Yeah,
we're comfort.
And the other thing, that are two things I love. It's fishing and food. You guys still do have the Donut Club on Saturdays, and talk about that for a little bit.
We're not supposed to. One of the rules is you're not supposed to talk about.
Okay,
it's like Fight Club.
I know the
first rule of Fight Club is there is no Fight Club.
Yes, because I got to know my Kyle Rudolph played with both of my boys at Notre Dame, so he's kind of explained this to us. So I didn't know you couldn't talk about it publicly. So I don't want to get you in trouble. So never mind. Just know that there's a lot of wonderful donuts consumed on Saturdays. Correct?
Yeah. Yes. Absolutely.
All right. So here's what we've got. You and he are going to go ice fishing.
Yeah.
And Adam's going to be our official ambassador.
Yeah.
To Minneapolis. Are you up for the task, Adam?
Oh, I love it. I'm all about it.
Done. We are. This is so happening. Adam Thielen is going to be our official Golic and Wingo Minneapolis ambassador, whether they're in the Super Bowl or not. He's going to take us through. We'll go the shortest and fastest and warmest ways.
There you go.
Around the city of Minneapolis. Adam, we appreciate you being with us. It's a great story. You love seeing these undrafted players come out and make a mark in the NFL. You just have to have the belief. You've certainly translated that belief into a great start to your NFL career. Thanks for being with us this morning. Best of luck this weekend against the Saints.
Thanks, Adam.
All right, thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Golic and Wingo, the podcast.
Let's not expect too much. There's only one person out there that's expecting way too much out of this guy too early. We know who that is. It's his father.
Golic and Wingo here with you, getting close to making our predictions for all four games. But we have to give a shout out to Allie, who put a great question on our Twitter feed, and the tweets have been the responses have been amazing. Oddly specific things that will happen in the divisional round. Like Devin tweets, Gronk catches 6 touchdowns for a total of 69 yards and gets fined for a non-family friendly TD celebration.
Of course he does.
Yeah. And we had Jerry, our Bitmaster extraordinaire, or Jer Bear, as we call him, come up with some. And Will came up with this one. Bortles will bortle 5 times, setting a new playoff record for bortling by a guy with the name Bortles. # sometimes you gots to bortle.
So it's a great tweet, but what would it sound like in actual play-by-play version?
And what does that mean? So once again, here now, Jerry.
Heinz Field here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Steelers well on top of the Jags with a score of 49-2.
That's just not very good.
The clock ticks out, and that's going to do it for us here in Pittsburgh. The Steelers are on to the AFC Championship, but the Jags won't escape without setting a new playoff record. 5 total Bortles by a guy with the name Bortles. I have no idea what that means, but baby, sometimes you gots to bortle.
When you become a verb, you know?
Bortling?
Yeah.
Bortle service? I don't know. So
I don't know what it means either, but we put it into a play-by-play version.
It's in the great beyond now. Mm-hmm. We appreciate that. So we appreciate all of you responding on Twitter to your oddly specific predictions for the divisional round playoffs. And now it's time for us to make our picks.
Are we doing picks with points or without points?
However you want to do it.
I hate doing points, but don't most people do it with points?
We don't have to do what anybody else says. We can do it our own way.
Let's pick winners.
Winner, chicken dinner. All right, let's start it off. Atlanta at Philadelphia.
Man, the team I played for the most, I love Philadelphia. I think it's a great sports town. Usually when you start out with something like that.
I think you know where this is going.
A butt there. I just like the way Atlanta's playing right now, especially defensively. You get a less mobile quarterback than what you had in Carson Wentz. I'm definitely leaning toward Atlanta, not the offensive juggernaut that they were before, but still the potential firepower with Julio Jones and Sanu and then Freeman and Coleman in the backfield. I think it's just going to be very, very tough for Philadelphia. Looking forward to that matchup, especially Fletcher Cox against Alex Mack, the center for Atlanta. It's a nice interior line matchup here. But at the end, the weather's supposed to be in the mid-40s, so you're not worried about bad weather for an Atlanta team, a dome team coming up and playing outdoors. So I like Atlanta over Philly in this one.
I do love the fact that when you said, man, I love Philadelphia, it's almost like saying when people say, hey, no disrespect.
Yeah.
And then the disrespect comes.
It comes.
But I certainly understand how you're torn. Look, at the end of the day for this matchup, it's about not so much the Eagles' offense, but the Falcons' defense. Last 6 games against really good teams, they've only given up 16.3 points per game. So my question is, how is a Nick Foles-led team that has struggled to convert third downs the last 2 weeks of the regular season, how are they going to keep the chains moving against a really good Falcons defense? I'm not sure they can. I'm going with Atlanta to win that game and get back to the conference championship game in the NFC for the second straight year.
All right, the next game, Tennessee at New England. This is interesting because Tennessee runs the ball well. Obviously, with Derrick Henry, ran it well last week, and they stopped the run. They were 4th in the league in stopping the run. But, I mean, New England at home in the playoffs, Tom Brady, just too good. And I really do think there is something to the intangible of, oh, you think we have issues here? It's ending here. We're going to show you just how much it's not ending here. Tom Brady with all the experience in the world, Marcus Mariota with none. One game, though he did throw a touchdown pass to himself. Right. The line in this is 13-some points, 13.5 points. Forgetting all that, New England wins this game, moves on to the AFC Championship.
Look, the one thing that's not going to happen is Derrick Henry and Delaney Walker will not beat the New England Patriots. Bill Belichick takes away what you do best. That's what the Tennessee Titans do best on offense, their running game and their big tight end. So if they win somehow, it's going to be Marcus Mariota hits Rashard Matthews and Corey Davis for big chunk plays. I'm not sure I see that happening either. There's a reason they're a big favorite. I am also going with the Patriots. By the way, we made our picks against the spread. You can check them out on our Twitter page at Golic and Wingo, or they're behind us on the chalkboard.
There you go. Sunday, first game, Jacksonville at Pittsburgh. You know, everybody looking forward to the Pittsburgh offense against the Killer Bees against that Jacksonville defense, which is just so dominant. To me, let's say they wash out there. You look for who's going to hit the big play. Let's look at the other side. I like Pittsburgh's defense more than Jacksonville's offense.
Yep.
So I think that, to me, could be the difference in that game. I'm going to go Pittsburgh at home in this one.
Well, look, only one team in the 17 teams that have tried have ever beaten the Steelers twice in a regular season and a postseason. It was the Jaguars of 2007, believe it or not. But I think the defense of Pittsburgh rises up here. They had more sacks than Jacksonville did, 56-55. I will go with Pittsburgh.
Last game, New Orleans at Minnesota could be the best matchup of the day, especially that New Orleans offense against that Minnesota defense. Love the way Minnesota defense is playing at home. Going to be loud. Maybe that'll be a couple of procedure penalties on New Orleans, which could help in this situation. And you have some big-time receivers that have done a good job for Minnesota this year, including Adam Thielen, who was on the show with us earlier. I like Minnesota at home.
I do too. That dome field advantage that the Saints really enjoy in the Mercedes-Benz Superdome is just as real at U.S. Bank Stadium for the Minnesota Vikings. It will be loud. That defense will be getting off against that Saints team. I really like Minnesota to keep.
So we all agree.
Alive.
We agree on all of them.
So this is bad radio.
We like Atlanta, we like New England, we like Pittsburgh, and we like Minnesota.
So either we'll be geniuses or we'll both be fools.
I think we know
come Monday morning. Go with the fools. Thanks for watching. See you later. Or listening.
Cool.
This has been the Best of Golic and Wingo podcast. Make sure to subscribe on the ESPN app, Apple Podcasts, and to listen every weekday morning at 6 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPN2, and the ESPN app.